Welcome in our webinar session with SJ. So this is the topic of our today's webinar. We'll be more focusing on serverless technological stacks for CMS development, particularly with AWS, Amazon Web Services. There will be some whys and whats, like what is serverless, what is why, how it is related to CMS technologies, and then why particularly with AWS or Amazon Web Services. Yeah, I will be answering those questions throughout this session. Before that, I wanted to tell you about myself shortly. I am an AWS nominated community builder since 2020. I am a serverless application developer with SJ. I am certified, AWS certified solutions architect. And you can get to know more about me from this link, www.kundu.xyz. This is all about me. And now this is the cherry of the cake. Um, what does it mean by serverless tech stack for CMS development? Why not any other tech stack or any other technological stack for CMS development, which we were doing like till now, and we call these technologies stack for as a monolithic tech CMS technologies, and these are major game changer on that platform, like on content management system platform. These are the four game changer or big bullies: Drupal, Joomla, WordPress, and Magento. They have other numbers of CMS technologies. Those are very much established in this area of monolithic CMS technologies. But we are not going to talk about them. We are going to talk about progressive CMS technologies, which is a synonym for serverless technologies, and we can call them alternatively as headless CMS or content infrastructure or content hubs. Rapidly nowadays, it is being called as a content as a service, and very latestly, it is called serverless CMS, which will be our core topic for this session. Very interestingly, what I told earlier on the topic of the session, that what is serverless and how it is more of AWS thing, because AWS is the pioneer for serverless keyword, but more often it is being misunderstood that serverless is not equal serverless. It is not server without server. There is servers, but we are not managing them. We are only building and running our applications without thinking about them. Them means the servers. That's why we are it is called serverless. And in such a way, it is handled from AWS, that literally you don't need to worry about it at all. They AWS, I mean, in our case it is AWS, but in theoretical term, if any cloud provider is using serverless technologies, then it can be Google for their Google Cloud, it can be Alibaba for their Alibaba Cloud, it can be Microsoft for their Azure Cloud. So this way, this can be cascaded. How serverless is defined for those cloud providers. So in shortly, serverless means this, that we don't need to worry about, don't need to maintain the security, we don't need to provision them, we don't need to deploy anything. uh, all the server related things will be managed by our cloud provider. In our case, it is AWS. But why this buzzword is being so many I mean so much, gaining so much attention? Why serverless? You can adapt it, and adapt it at a scale. It is scalable no matter what is your application size or load, traffic load for your application. It has the lowest cost possibility for your application, because you will only pay uh, for the services or for the time you are using their services. So it is automatically by default optimized on your behalf. cost optimized for on your behalf. That's why it is gaining so much popularity, because at the end of the day, cost is another, I mean, one of the biggest factor for anything. And then the biggest barrier for any ideas to get a marketplace faster is to, eliminate the development time or the operational overhead. So all of those operational overhead or the heavy lifting will be, covered by your cloud provider. In our case, it is AWS. You can build better applications and easier way in easier way with serverless frameworks. You can focus only on development. Forget about your servers will be taken care of automatically by cloud providers. These are the services, particularly serverless services, what we will be more focusing into. These are the core serverless services from AWS. They are the backbone of all the serverless architectures from AWS. Lambda, Fargate, DynamoDB, RDS Aurora, API Gateway, AppSync, Amplify, S3, Lambda, Step Functions, SQS, and SNS. Particularly, Lambda is the computation engine from AWS, and it is acting as an a compute machine, serverless compute machine from AWS. Um, you can deploy your a particular function in that Lambda and execute your logic independently without think, no matter how or what is the load for that logic. Lambda will handle it. You don't need to worry about the load or provisioning. uh, uh, in our case, we use Lambda day in day out for all of our application computations. If you talk about Fargate is a serverless containerized service. So in our case, how we use Docker or Kubernetes, Fargate will be available as a serverless service for containerized applications. So now, if your applications are containerized deployed on cloud or on premises, you can leave them on cloud as a serverless service with Fargate. DynamoDB is the NoSQL database service from AWS, and it is also serverless. You don't need to provision any amount of storage or computation power for your database. It will adopt the traffic and increase the size as per your data. RDS Aurora is the relational database service from AWS, and it is serverless. There are two versions of it, but RDS Aurora is the serverless version of it. There is also server based RDS version of it, which has that fixed provisioning kind of. So there will be fixed cost. I mean, in short, there will be fixed cost, and with RDS, there will be flexible cost, pay as you go. API gateways are the REST API builders. You can create REST APIs, HTTP APIs, WebSocket APIs with API gateway. This is a awesome serverless service from AWS. AppSync is very latest cutting edge technological services from AWS for GraphQL APIs. So you can build your GraphQL APIs with AppSync, and it will use automatically. It will use its data source as DynamoDB. And then Amplify is one of the biggest platform service from AWS. Amplify is used to build. Amplify is used as a framework. Actually, it is not a single service. It is used as a framework or as a platform for your serverless application building process to connect all these services. Like you can connect Lambda, DynamoDB, API Gateway, AppSync, S3, all other services inside Amplify, and make your application in such a way that they are communicating with each other. Then S3, we all, I mean, mostly if we are connected with AWS or anyhow anywhere, then S3 is the buzzword there. S3 is the bucket object storage service for AWS. It is the most serverless service from AWS. There is latest services from Lambda, which is lambda step function. It is responsible for sequential operations executions from lambda. So if let's say your lambda needs some sequential operations to be executed, you can use lambda step functions. Lambda step functions can execute um, thousands, even millions of requests sequentially. And then SQS is another queue service from AWS. It will maintain all your queue related operations. SNS is a notification service from AWS. All the push notifications can be handled from AWS with SNS, and these both can communicate with S3 and S3, DynamoDB, and Lambda periodically. You can trigger them with those services. So these are the core services, I mean serverless services from AWS, which will be responsible to build your serverless CMS. So now what I will be giving you an overall overview for an architecture where I will be combining those services to create an serverless architecture for your serverless CMS. And this is particularly the backend solution. Backend in a sense, um, to develop your API services. So if you see all these services, here we have Amplify to combine all of those services, and then Cognito. So this Cognito was not there. This Cognito was not there. So Cognito was is used for um, your own purpose to do authentication and authorization for your application, for your users actually. And then I have added AWS AppSync. The AppSync is used, as I was told earlier, AppSync is used for GraphQL API building purpose. So I am using GraphQL APIs for our data source, which is DynamoDB, to communicate with it. And then I am also using REST APIs as well, AWS API Gateway, which is now responsible for REST API services. So I am creating some REST APIs as well for some special business cases, business use cases. Let's say some notification or some user triggered business logics. So this API Gateway is connected with AWS Lambda to execute that logic when needed. And also our DynamoDB is also connected with AWS Lambda, because DynamoDB may need some actions to be done in terms of data update from users. So this is the API related thing. And then we have another service called S3 for our all static storage, file storage. We will be storing all our images or scripts files, and then all other static files on these S3. And yeah, so this is the simplest serverless architecture can be for your CMS application. This can be complicated if you use more services like your queue service, your notification service, and you want to deploy all of your application in container. So you may need Fargate as well. But in our case, we are keeping it as simple as possible to demonstrate how a serverless application can be built with AWS technologies, serverless technologies. Now, I was talking about all AWS services, but I haven't, gave them an overview of, how serverless CMS can be helpful. So serverless CMS can be so much helpful for you in terms of scalability, security, availability, cost efficiency, constant collaboration with your team members, personalized features like any specific or advanced feature for your application. It can be image recognition or IoT integration, a microservice based solution like we build earlier. Like you want to build only these API service, only this GraphQL API service with database, and you don't need anything else. So you can only build this service only with serverless CMS. And then, as I said, the latest API technology support GraphQL, REST API, HTTP API, HTTPS API, WebSocket API, anything you can build. And as I said earlier, serverless has this plus point to focus only on development, so that your development time is faster. And this is the most important thing, you will have this vibrant community with you, for your knowledge sharing purpose and for your problems to be solved. Now if I go one by one, uh, how scalability can be effectively used on serverless CMS with AWS services. So when you build these architecture for your serverless CMS, the most important aspect of this architecture would be scalability. Because let's say if your application has millions of users traffic for your application, and then your API server bro is not capable of handling that load, then what's the use of building these a serverless architecture? That's why we don't provision anything for these APIs. It can be for GraphQL API or for API gateways in terms of REST API development. So these are built and operated in such a way that no matter what is the traffic on your application, it will expand vertically to cope up with your traffic. So you will get a huge scalability option or facility for your serverless CMS. If your traffic, if your traffic is increasing day by day, it is not only for API services, it can be for database service or your computation many machine service in terms of Lambda. It is highly secured. It is such secured that we consider it uh, 11.9 of secured. Like it is, um, you cannot you will get that security assurance uh, uh, z- as 100. How can I say, it is like so secure that you cannot break it without your permission or your um, permission only. Let me give you another example here. um, in terms of security, AWS provides you two types of security model. One is AWS managed security model, and another is a shared responsibility based security model. So when you choose serverless services, it is all about AWS. You can claim your 100% security from AWS, because AWS is managing all these services, you are not managing them. And if you go shared responsibility based security model, you will have to take responsibility for your application security. You cannot just claim your security to your cloud provider. So this is how secured it is. All the security related aspects will be taken care by your cloud provider. In our case, it is AWS. It is available. They have 11 regions throughout the world. They have the latest region in United Arab just in this month. So you will get that availability through CDNs and all other services. Cost efficiency is obviously will be there. You will only pay for the services what you will be using. Constant collaboration, it can be done for your application, because this is serverless and you don't need to handle or provision your servers to have that collaboration with team members. Personalized features, as I said earlier, if you have let's say image recognition service or feature, or IoT integration service feature for your application, you can do this with AWS only, within AWS only. You don't need to change your cloud provider or integrate hybrid cloud, like your application may need Google Cloud, some services from Google Cloud, some services from Microsoft Cloud, Azure, and some services from AWS. But with AWS, you don't need to do that. Within AWS only, you can get your personalized features available for your application, for your serverless CMS. And obviously microservice based solution is there, because as I said earlier, if you want to have only these API services, not any Lambda or any user authentication or any storage services, you can do that, and they will be act independently, they will not be dependent on each other. So this is the beauty of serverless. And then yeah, latest API technologies you will get: GraphQL, REST APIs, WebSocket APIs, other API services you will get. Obviously the development time will be faster, because developers will be more focused into development, not in managing or fixing server related bugs. Community is always there, so you can visit this link to get developer community support from publicly. And there are also paid services, paid support services within AWS. So obviously you can get that. Yeah, so these are the tools and technologies can be used for serverless CMS building. If you have the passion to do R&Ds and design your customized solution, then you can use these technologies to build your um, serverless CMS. And I personally prefer these services, these technologies to build a serverless CMS application. Yeah, so this is going to be hard, because this is a new and cutting edge technology in development. You will have to do a lot of R&Ds, you will have to learn on daily basis, and then you can build some amazing products. And if you don't have that mindset to do R&D and learn from your mistakes, learn from the community, and learn from your experience, it will be difficult to build out some products out of box. In our case, what we are planning to build is serverless CMS. It is only possible if you have that skill set for R&Ds, learn on daily basis, and then you can build this kind of serverless CMS. If I give some examples for serverless CMS or headless CMS, as I said, these are quite synonymous. We have used, content stack, contentful CMS, Strapi, um, like those CMSs. These are progressive CMS technologies and can be considered as serverless CMS if you deploy them using these services for your front end or your back end. So yeah, I think these are some examples. I think, yeah, I am done from my side with examples and all. If you have any questions for me, feel free to ask. um, yeah, this is all from my side. And thanks for your time, for being here.
Thank you everyone, thank you for joining our session. Hope we'll be learn from it. Thank you.